All right, I'm gonna make a video here on doing a tee on a taper. I'm gonna try to do this as clearly as I can. I'm gonna use some different colored felts to hopefully make things stand out a little bit. I've done a little bit of the layout here so you don't have to watch me do everything. But all the important things I'm gonna do with you here. So I have a taper that's 6 inches down to 4 inches, and then there's a 3-inch tee at a 45-degree angle coming off those side on center. It's hard to see here, but the length of the tee on the short side is 3 inches, and the seam is going to be on this side here. So from here to here is 3 inches. The seam is going to be there. That's why I labeled it number 1. Now, I didn't draw the entire taper because I don't need to. I just did half of it. It just went from the center line over 3 inches, over 2 inches, and still 6 inches tall. Did the 45 degrees, 3 inches there, 3 inches across, and then back down. With the tee, I did a full profile on the end. I didn't draw the lines down yet, but this is very similar to doing a tee on an angle, where you have to develop a miter line here to get true lengths. Which we're going to take those true lengths once we develop this miter line and then plot them onto our stretch out. The difficult thing here is because this is a tee, there's a lot of layout just to develop this miter line. So the first thing we're going to do is where the tee hits the side of this pipe, draw a line straight back in and straight back in. So it's kind of like taking the tee and we're going to cut off the top and cut off the bottom, and we're just going to worry about a profile at these points. So draw a line straight in and straight in there, and then when I have that line drawn in there from the center, I'm going to draw a profile. So just a half circle and circle there. Now, normally when we're dealing with any kind of layout, we draw a profile on the top and bottom of the tee. That's essentially what we're doing here, but only where the tee is intersecting the taper. Hopefully that makes sense. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna extend these lines out this way a little bit, just to give us a platform to draw on. So that line, I'm just gonna extend it in this way. And out here a little bit. And then 90 degrees to that line. And 90 degrees to this point here. All right, so I've made a 90-degree angle there and there. Now what I'm gonna do is this quarter circle here off the 3-inch tee, I'm gonna draw that same profile right here. And then I'm gonna take this quarter profile of the tee and I'm gonna draw it into this corner right here. So if I just measure that radius right there, put it right in here, and draw it up to that 90-degree line. And I'm going to do the same thing in this bottom corner here. Now I'm going to divide them into equal spaces. I'm going to highlight this in red in a second here too, because the pencil's kind of hard to see. All right, so that's our next step. Now where these lines come, I'm gonna draw them 90 degrees from this point. I'm gonna draw them until they hit that radius, the first radius I put in there. So I'm just gonna draw it straight back until it hits that profile line. And then the same down here. Okay, so now all these, there's 3 points here that hit that line and 3 points here that hit this profile. So once I've got them to this point, I'm gonna draw them straight up now until they hit this very first line that we drew. I'm gonna change the color again here, just hopefully to make it so it's less confusing. So now 90 degrees straight up. And then these ones come straight down. All right. Now, when they come to these baselines here, I'm gonna connect the closest inside line to the closest inside line. And then the middle one to the middle one, and outside one to the outside one. All right, so that's the first part of it. Now with these profile lines or these divisions that I put here, now I'm going to carry them down through until they intersect these lines, and that's going to help us to develop this miter. Doing all this work got us these lines, then bring these lines through, and where they intersect each other will give us our miter. And I go to another color. All right. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. Now it's the same doing that over one up one thing. So I'm gonna start right here in the crotch with the number 1 where it hits the side of the T. That's gonna be our first. And I'm gonna go down one, up one, down one, up one, down one, up one. Now when I'm at the furthest part out, down one, in one, down one, in one, and then we're gonna finish off right here. So that ends up being our profile. And now all I need to do is take each one of those lines and plot it on here. I can finish labeling this now that I've got these in here. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So starting with number 1, going from the top of the T to where number 1 hits the taper, I can plot my number 1 and my number 1 number 2 and 12. Two and 12, because 2 and 12 share the same line. 3 and 11. 10 and 4. 9 and 5. 8 and 6. And finally 7. And that is our pattern. Kind of has a little bump in the middle. So that's just freehand. Roll 360. And again, I have no seam allowances on this one, but if there was, I'll be adding a seam allowance to the end of my T part here. All this is waist, and that would fit on that taper. There is a way to actually lay out the hole on the taper as well, but it's all of this work times 5. It's a ton of work to just lay out the hole. So just like any other tee, if it's on lighter gauge material, it's best just to make the tee, put it onto the side of the taper and just trace it and cut the hole and attach it that way. All right, hopefully that made sense. If you have any questions, feel free to email or text me and we'll go from there. Thanks.